Ahead, the surprise U.S. decision to send 5,000 more troops to Poland and what that reversal means for the predictability of U.S. forces in Europe.
If you have a few questions now, I can take 2 or 3 and then we'll see. So,
Terry Jones from DW, thank you. What do you make of the announcement overnight from President Trump that he would be sending 5,000 more troops to Poland, reversing a decline? And what does this mean for the smaller deployments in the Baltic states, as you understand it?
Well, of course, I welcome the announcement. Our military commanders are working through all the details, but of course I welcome it. But let's be clear, the trajectory we are on, which is a stronger Europe and a stronger NATO, making sure we will, over time, step by step, be less reliant on one ally only, as we have been for so long, which is the United States. So that also for them, they have the possibility and the option to pivot more towards other priorities, which are also in our interest, will continue. But of course, I very much welcome the announcement yesterday.
One question. How confused are you about this probably contradicting messaging of the US? And what can you do to ensure the predictability for allies regarding the US presence?
Well, you have seen over the years always that there are decisions about deployments and troop levels, etc. But there is, when you zoom out, you clearly see the trajectory. The trajectory is that European allies are spending more. I've mentioned yesterday again the German example, but I could mention the Dutch example, the Polish example, so many examples in Europe. Sweden, where we are today, already reaching the 5%, including the 3.5 core defense spending by 2030, 5 years ahead of schedule. And this is necessary not only to equalize what we are spending with the United States, but also to make sure that we have what we need to deter and defend against our adversaries, including our long-term threat, which is Russia. And the US will play a key role in Europe when it comes to the nuclear, but also when it comes to the conventional. But what you will be seeing over the coming time is a step-by-step process where the
Next, European allies are stepping up spending, but leaders warn more even burden sharing is needed as crucial air defense support for Ukraine continues.
Europeans step up more, which is really important. The Americans acknowledge this. And within that process, you will always have, of course, decisions and announcements which are part of the longer-term trajectory.
It's not for NATO whether this decision of Trump is a military strategic one or purely a political one to punish one country and to gain another.
Hey, listen, NATO is a political military alliance. So that's the big difference with China or Russia, where one person in the end takes all the decisions. We are a democratic alliance and a military alliance. And that means that decisions will always be informed by military and political considerations. That's how it works.
How can you guarantee that the focus stays on Ukraine?
Basically, it is happening already. What I'm seeing, for example, the United States, the flow of U.S. crucial gear into Ukraine continues. This includes, of course, vital anti-ballistic missile, anti-missile support, including for the Patriot systems, paid for by European allies, the famous Pearl program. It is continuing. The Europeans are paying for it. What I want to achieve is that the burden is more evenly spread, that there is more burden sharing here, because at the moment it is only 6 or 7 allies who are doing the heavy lifting. The good news is that what they do is enough to make sure that Ukraine keeps having the access to this crucial US equipment. But of course it would be fairer if within NATO, and particularly the European part of NATO, we could see other allies also stepping up. But when it comes to the support for Ukraine, and political support for Ukraine particularly, there is absolutely no discussion. We all see the necessity, and we see the Ukrainians doing remarkably well on the battlefield. Final question.
Yes, before you left the US.
Also, European states are making bases and naval assets available and prepositioning demining equipment to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open for commerce.
Also, Mr. Rube, you expressed disappointment with NATO not helping the US in the war in Iran and the Hormuz Strait situation. Will you talk about that, and what's your message to him?
No doubt, when foreign ministers meet, we will discuss all relevant events, all relevant developments, including, of course, the Strait of Hormuz, Iran. When I was in the United States early April, I also spoke with the President and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War, I really sensed this disappointment. Let me also say that Europeans have heard the message. When it comes, for example, to European bases, and these are bilateral commitments by European countries with the United States, so that the United States can use these bilateral commitments for operations they have elsewhere in the world. When you look at Europe right now, over the last 2 months, massively, European countries have been living up to those commitments. I was in Bucharest last week and I saw firsthand, and you know that the Romanian government had to change even the legislation to make this possible, and it did this, I think, in 1 or 2 days. I saw the tankers on the airport of Bucharest, but the same is true for Bulgaria, Portugal, it's true for Greece, but also the bigger countries like Italy and UK and France and Germany. So they are all, when it comes to making their bases available, doing what the US could expect based on bilateral commitments. Then when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, next phase, what we are seeing is, and also here I think Europeans really heard the message, is many European countries making sure that they, let's say, pre-position some of their key ships and other equipment close to theater, for example, demining.